If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
In a world where insanity reigns supreme and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, it's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, and despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
I am. Welcome to the Saloon. It's Tuesday, December 8th, the year of our Lord 2020. Holy crap, where did the year go? Thank God it's getting over. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I'm broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, always spelled with a K. I am located currently a mere 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast. Where would that be, BZ? Well, that would be the Bill Mill, the Belly of the Beast, the Capitol Building in downtown Sacramento at 10th and L Streets. That is, in fact, the locus of evil. I need to tell you and forewarn you that everything that's in this show consists of my opinion and my opinion only. For guests tonight, I have no one. I hope to have Gabrielle Ingram on perhaps Thursday, because some things did occur in Sacramento County with regard to the decision of the Sacramento County to charge business violators of COVID-19 rules, $10,000 a day. So she went to the meeting today to find out what was happening. And I know what happened. I'll tell everybody on Thursday. It could have been a lot worse, I think. It could have been much worse, in truth. So I'll be back on Thursday. Tonight, as I indicated, by the way, I started the show on Periscope, so if you go to @BZEP, @BZEP, you'll find that the Periscope video portion of this has already started. So go to Twitter, @BZEP, if you want to watch the show on video. And then when you're there, if you'd be a kind kerfuffle, would you kindly share that all over? Disseminate far and wide. YouTube is still not cooperating with me. So besides Periscope, I've also chosen Facebook. So if you want to go to Facebook, you can find it on Facebook. Go ahead, make a liar out of me. Jeez, you guys, you drive such difficult bargains. And I've got a lot of information tonight and a lot of audio cuts. I love audio cuts because I've got the time to delve into various issues much deeper than a lot of other people do. You know, I have to say, I love Tucker Carlson. There are some things still that he and I do not see eye to eye about, but for the most part, I still really admire Tucker Carlson. But the thing that still pisses me off about Tucker Carlson and a lot of Fox News, but mostly him, is his producer is in his ear all the time, move it along, move it along, move it along. He'll talk about an issue that's really engaging. He'll talk about that issue for, I don't know, a minute and a half or 2 minutes, and then you know that his producer is in his ear pushing him to some other topic. And just when it's starting to get really interesting, whatever that particular topic is, they move. It's like, you know, I get it. You're making millions of dollars a year. Tucker and Hannity and Ingram and a few others are your only moneymakers left. Because the rest of these fuck nozzles that are on Fox News, especially, what's that newest guy? Leland Vitters or something like that. If I fucked up his name, then oh well, so be it. What a leftist fuckwad that guy is. Now, I should have said at the beginning of the show, for those of you with sensitive shell-like ears, well, I did. I announced it. You know, if you hear various bad words, I'm not in a fabulous mood this week. I tweaked the old Mark I Model 1 back this weekend. And so I'm not real comfy with sitting down for a lengthy period of time. I will try to get it as much as I possibly can. If you're on Facebook and you're watching the show, please share. Hit the share button on Facebook and share that far and wide as well. And then, of course, you can go, folks, if you just tuned in, you can always go to shrmedia.com, shrmedia.com. And when you're there on the front page, click Listen Live, and then you'll come to the chat page. And in chat right now, I've got Real Mike Pasqua, the Alaskan, and Sergeant Booker. Some other people come and go. I used to have an audience of thousands, but now Facebook, I'm lucky to have an audience of, I don't know, 30, 50, 100 on a good day anymore. That's just the way things are now, and we have to live with it. It's 2020. I think we can all admit it's 2020. I almost feel like opening up the show. Hell, why not? Let's change to this. If anybody wants to call in right now, this is not what I was going to do, but it's my show, so I get to do it. If you want to call in and tell me your 2020 stories and how 2020 has managed to screw you over, call in. Now, if you're on the SHR Media Facebook page or you're watching on Periscope, the number is at the bottom of the scroll, the Chiron, as they call it in the cable news industry. But if you're just listening, or if you're in chat, it's 575-208-4481. And let me make sure that this phone is on if anybody is interested in calling. Anyway, 575-208-4481 with your 2020 stories, whether they're good or whether they're bad. I could regale you with a ton of mine, but in the meantime, because you're here and I'm here, I want to start where I haven't customarily started, but I did this last week, last Thursday, so I want to do it again tonight, too.
The Bloviating Zeppelins HeyJackass.com Chicago Death Toll Update. Courtesy of Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
You gotta love that Lori Lightfoot. I get this from HeyJackass.com, where it's illustrating Chicago values. HeyJackass.com. Now, what that has to do with, well, let's get into the stats. HeyJackass.com is where you can go to find up to the minute, up to the second statistics on Chicago. And here we go. Illustrated Chicago values, December to date. Shot and killed in Chicago, 14. Shot and wounded, 60. Total shots, 74. Total homicides, December to date, 15. The week in progress, that's December 6th to December 12th. Shot and killed, 7. Shot and wounded, 20. Total shot, 27. Total homicides, 7. I don't know. You guys are slacking a little bit. Year to date, the biggie. Shot and killed, 680. Shot and wounded, 3,303. Total shot, 3,983. The big question now for Chicago is, for total shot, are you guys going to break 4,000? Nobody knows. Total homicides, 748 for Chicago right up to now. So what that means is, in terms of Chicago crime, a person is shot in Chicago every 2 minutes and 3 seconds. A person is murdered in Chicago every 10 minutes and 59 seconds. And boy, that's something to take home and crow about, isn't it? Mayor Lightfoot, Lori Lightfoot of Chicago. Now, sadly, something happened, I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Where did that come from? That's the wrong one. That's not what I want. I want this.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon.
Yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, Chuck Yeager passed away. Chuck Yeager was a World War II ace, and he was the first pilot to ever break the sound barrier. Chuck Yeager died at the age of 97. He was a retired Air Force Brigadier General, World War II fighter ace, quintessential test pilot from Edwards Air Force Base in California. This is generally where that phrase, those two words, the right stuff, that people had, test pilots, etc., that came from him, essentially. When in 1947, think about that, he became the first person to fly faster than the speed of sound. So his wife, Victoria Yeager, said that he died on Monday. It's with profound sorrow I must tell you that my loved General Chuck Yeager passed before 9 p.m. Eastern Time. An incredible life, well lived. And I would commend that, and I would say yes, absolutely. Chuck Yeager his life was an incredible life, well lived. Speaking of 2020, oh, hey, welcome to Simone. Good to see you there. Speaking of 2020, and I asked if you want to call in, 575-208-4481 with your 2020 stories. If you want to regale us with any tales. Simone in chat says he lived in Auburn, California. Yes, and he also lived in Grass Valley as well. 2020, and kids, folks, did you ever have a situation where you went to a store, a mall, whatever the equivalent would be when you were a child, and your parents introduced you to Santa as a young kid, and you told Santa what it is that you would like for Christmas? Well, this is 2020, and apparently Santas are a little different these days than I think what we're used to.
What do you want for Christmas?
Here's Santa.
You don't know.
The kid's bashful.
What? No guns. Nerf gun.
Okay, did you hear what he said? I'd like a Nerf gun.
No, not even
Santa said, nope, no guns.
a Nerf gun. Nope. If your dad wants to get it for you, that's fine, but I can't bring it to you. But what else would you like? There's lots of other toys. There's Legos, there's bicycles, there's cars and trucks. What do you think?
So he looks over to his
What do
mom.
you think?
his mom is carrying a child. So Santa wouldn't let him have a Nerf gun. She has to put the child, the infant, down to console her son because PC social justice warrior Santa decided that this kid couldn't have a Nerf gun. And that's where we are in 2020. Oh, here's one. Oh, I got to play this. I absolutely have to play this. I'm going to take this stuff right off the top from the very beginning. This definitely falls under this category.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
This is a great story. This is from Trending Politics, but you saw it everywhere today. Does anybody remember back about, it might have been 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, when AOC, Alexandria Occasionally Competent, thanks, Jack, I stole that from you, said something similar to the owner of Goya Foods was a Trump supporter. So she began a boycott of Goya Foods. Well, apparently that boycott didn't work very well because AOC today was named the Goya Foods Employee of the Month after an epic boycott backfire. Demorat, Alexandria Occasionally Competent Cortez will likely serve as a case study in political science courses for decades for her spectacularly failed boycott of the nation's largest and most beloved Hispanic foods company. The socialist firebrand stepped in on a rake in July. Okay, it was July. All right, it was a little bit further back. When she tried to mobilize her cult-like Twitter following to engage in a boycott of Goya Foods after CEO Bob Unanu, aloha, spoke kindly of President Trump during a White House press conference. So that's all it takes to create a boycott from these leftist fuck nozzles is speak not unkindly about President Trump. So what occurred is she called to boycott Goya, but maybe she didn't quite think it all the way through. So she gave this order to all of her little winged monkeys. But here's the big difference that I love. Unlike all the little trembling toadies and the sniveling jackanapes that consist of corporate CEOs all across the United States of America, this guy decided that he wasn't going to take it lying down. He refused to cave. Okay, he refused to buckle, and instead he blasted her about the bullying directed towards his company, which is, it's a successful, Goya, by the way, if you aren't aware, Goya is a wildly successful Hispanic foods company. It's a minority-owned business, and they forgot, she forgot, the squad forgot, that it's also known for an assload of charitable events. So because of that, then, including me, and I never go out to purchase this, even I went out and bought some I bought canned beans from Goya just because. And so, due to that, this guy has decided, and there's an award. If you go to the article, you can see it. It's a plaque, and there's her picture, and it says, Honorable Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Employee of the Month from Goya. What a wonderful thing that is. So, there she is. Wonderful. Did you hear also of the newest, which is this? Oh, and one viewer. Welcome to one viewer. Oh, Sergeant Booker in chat says, my 2020 story. I have a face mask made out of an old Crown Royal bag. It cost me $29.99, but it came with a free bottle of Crown. I'd say that's a positive. That's definitely a positive. Alaskan in chat said, let's raise the roof so we can say we're outside. Oh, speaking of outside, I want to know if you guys have seen anything like this. In California, always spell it with a K, where I am, you can't have indoor dining throughout the state. Done. That's gone. No indoor dining. Depending upon which area, region, or county you're in, you can or cannot have outdoor dining. I think Governor Newsom is about to clamp down on all the outdoor dining and say, that's done. That's done. But there are still some places in Sacramento County, and I'm not going to name them because I don't want them to get in trouble. But I look at this kind of stuff, and it's like looking at someone in an automobile with their windows up, and the morons are wearing a mask, as if they would pollute themselves. Well, they are polluting themselves with their very own CO2. So you look at somebody in a car like that and you go, God, does this moron have a brain? Then you look, and maybe you've seen them yourself, depending on where you are. But I happen to be on a particular well-maintained street. Let's just say it's called Fair Oaks Boulevard. And I'm looking at a restaurant, very popular restaurant on Fair Oaks Boulevard. And what they have done to get around the you can't dine indoors, is they've made a tent. Okay, got it. Because it's winter, it's cold. It's been down to 32, 35 at night around here. Maybe 40, 50 during the day, maybe 60 during the day. I get it. So you still have to dine outside. But what they've also done is they've dropped walls down on this tent with little plastic windows. And you can look through and you can see they've got those tall heaters. So they brought the inside outside. So what's the difference? The difference is apparently there is no difference. Oh, if you also want to know how leftists get around this crap, if you didn't know, Saturday Night Live, I discovered, as well as any number of other people, they get around it, and I've seen photographs of this. The Saturday Night Live audience, the studio, is much smaller than you would think it is. The audience is still packed nose to nozzle in there. Some are wearing masks. But here's how Saturday Night Live gets around that in New York City. They've paid the audience members $150. They send them a check. They call them employees or contractors. And that's how they get around having an audience in New York City. Here's another story. This just came out today. I looked at this. This is one of those things where you want to knock yourself in the head, and just when you think that things can't get stupider, yeah, the shite gets stupider. This is from frontpagemag.com. The headline is AOC, Omar, and Squad want to free 500,000 fat criminals. Okay. If I had a damn producer, you would have heard free 500,000 fat criminals. But I don't have a producer, so that's not what you heard. Who can write this stuff? Obese rapists, insane serial killers, and child molesters over 55 years old could be on the loose in your neighborhood if the Squad's latest social justice bill becomes law. The bill to free all the fat criminals, sponsored by who? Representative Tlaib, Representative Lee, and Representative Presley, and co-sponsored by Representative, I'm stealing this from you, Jack, Alexandria Occasionally Competent, Representative Omar, and 8 other Demorats and endorsed, of course, endorsed by Black Lives Matter. Hashtag because why not? Calls for a mass jailbreak to protect criminals from the coronavirus. The existing wave of coronavirus criminal releases already helped boost crime rates in major cities with double-digit increases in homicides. Robberies have shot up like a rocket with criminals stealing cars, looting businesses, while knowing they won't be jailed. But that's not enough for the squad. They want to free all the criminals, especially the fat ones. Or as the bill puts it, if they're diagnosed with obesity. So I guess if BZ was locked up in a jail or a prison somewhere, thank God I would be one of the first to be released. Set my apron of fat free, if you would, please. I feel so oppressed at this point. Also, welcome to the folks in chat. Mike in chat, Simone in chat, the Alaskan in chat, Sergeant Booker in chat, Jack Alexander in chat. And if anybody is still interested, if you wish to call 575-208-4481, that number in Ecuador is one large banana slug plus 575-208-4481. And if you're calling from Zephron, just come into my head. Just go ahead and do it. Come right into my head. So that's the, that's the AOC version of making sure that you're taken care of if you happen to be a criminal. This is next an interesting, let's see, I think this is about 6 minutes long. Kate Krasuski sent me this, and I'd be curious as to what you guys think of this. This came out of Facebook, and this is from @Aussie Skeptic, Jack. So what does the Aussie Skeptic have to say?
Everyone's in on the Great Reset. Well, almost everyone. There's one guy who's got the power to do something to stop it, and you know exactly where I'm going. And they made a mistake. They tried to get Trump on their side, so they invited Donald Trump to Davos, I think a couple of times.
This is interesting.
But in January, when Donald Trump, I think, really began to see the beast that he was up against, he went to Davos, to the World Economic Forum, and he stuck a mega finger in their eye.
We're committed to conserving the majesty of God's creation and the natural beauty of our world. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country.
2 days after Donald Trump gave that speech, the 89-year-old leftist weirdo billionaire George Soros made an emergency intervention where, at Davos, once again, warning that the U.S. 2020 election will determine the, quote, fate of the whole world. Now, in the context of Davos, take a look at this one more time. This is a month after Donald Trump addressed Davos and stuck the MAGA finger in their face. Here's what Francis, the Vatican, and Jeffrey Sachs had to say in response.
Now listen, later on in the show, I have another incident of George Soros. It's already in a major city. It's in a bunch of other major cities and soon coming to a major city near you. What gave George Soros a multi-billionaire carte blanche to screw with entire nations? And the answer is he did.
And it is a dangerous country right now. It will be absolutely dangerous if Trump wins re-election. Trump wins re-election. Trump wins re-election.
Well, that's interesting. I got a phone call now, and I think it's from Jeremy Hansen. And are you on the line, sir?
I am. How are you?
Good. Can you maybe talk up a little bit more? I've got you up as far as I can.
How's that?
A little bit louder or in some different kind of fashion.
Okay. Is that any better?
That's a little bit better. How can we service you, sir?
Well, I was just calling in to talk about 2020 and how bad it has sucked for almost everybody I know.
It does. Well, let me tell you what. Hang on for just 1 second, because I want to take a break. And while we're taking a break, I want to play a promo for this guy that I know called Jeremy Hansen. So, folks, hang on for about a minute and a half, and we'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right. We're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Unleashed Jeremy Hansen, the most explosive pro-American podcast on the planet. Pro-MAGA, pro-Trump, pro-conservative. Come join the resistance. Fight for what really matters in America. 5 p.m. Central on UJHLive.com, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Pandora, or MAGAbook.com. Come join the resistance and fight for America. Unleashed Jeremy Hansen.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, I know that guy. That Jeremy Hansen guy. Okay, now, Jeremy, I didn't put Jeremy up to this. He didn't put himself up to this. He just happened to call. Jeremy, I just want to let you know that this is the first time that I've played your promo, because I finally got into editing it and putting it into the first promo pack for the first break. So I didn't plan it. Jeremy didn't plan it. And anybody that did plan it is only from the planet Zephron. So anyway, Jeremy, thanks for calling in. I appreciate that. I hate to start with such a bummer, but I know that if we're going to talk about 2020, if I'm not mistaken, and this is seldom figured in to the response to Wuhan 19, but if I'm not mistaken, you yourself know some individuals during this year that have committed suicide, have they not?
Yes, I've known a couple.
So two that you have known that have done that in 2020.
Right, personally known. I know some other people, like acquaintances that I've had that have also committed suicide. My grandfather passed away this year, and grandfathers pass away. That's not the thing. The thing with him was that for 6 months nobody was able to see him, so he died extremely lonely. They wouldn't let anybody come in. You know how it is. It's just everything around 2020 has sucked. I've known people that have lost businesses. I've known people that I don't think otherwise would have gotten divorced, but they're fighting like hell, money problems, big problems, anxiety in the home. The thing that really bothers me is I think that this is politically directed. I do believe, and I'm not afraid to say it to these, progressive assholes out there that say it's conspiracy theory. I believe that this was a hit job from the Chinese government against Donald Trump to accomplish two things. One, to stop the hemorrhaging of their economy, and two, to make sure that Donald Trump didn't get elected again.
I have to do this because you made two very salient points, the likes of which I'm going to go into later in the show, with specifically regarding China. This was not touched by what I termed the American media maggots. Tucker Carlson had on his show a Chinese virologist, a female, I cannot remember her name, who said essentially, and Tucker Carlson nailed her, I should say, got her to talk. Jeez, where's my mind going, Jeremy? Damn it. Tucker Carlson got her to admit essentially that she believed Wuhan 19 was created in a lab to be weaponized. That was its job. That was the goal of the Chinese. And then when pressed further by Tucker Carlson, she also admitted that she believed that it was done purposely. If there was ever any large, direct, causal evidence to indicate that China dropped a pandemic on the rest of the world, and there is evidence that they exported it. They closed down Wuhan. They kept people into Wuhan. They wouldn't let people from Wuhan fly anywhere else in China. That's clear evidence. That's consciousness of guilt, if you're talking about evidence in terms of a criminal prosecution. That's clear consciousness of guilt. But they didn't mind people from Wuhan getting on planes and other points in China and going to other points all around the globe. They didn't mind that at all. So,
no, it's sickening, BZ. When you look at it in its totality, it's not just about COVID-19. In 2020, we also had the Chinese that were stealing submarine secrets from us.
yes.
We also had down in Texas, they were making ballots in one of their little whatever you call it down there in Houston. They also were stealing.
Oh, right. I remember that. Okay, the Chinese consulate. Is that what you're talking about? Making the ballots in the Chinese consulate.
Right.
And then burning them when they were getting close to being discovered.
Right. We've got Nancy Pelosi's driver, we found out, was a secret agent today. On multiple different publications, they were talking about a Chinese lady.
Yep.
You call her a lady? I call her a lady of the night because she was sleeping with politicians to gain favor. If we see this onslaught from China, and the Democrats and the GOP are spineless pussies, either that or they're paid off. One of the two. If they allow this to continue to happen from China to the American people, and then they say, "Oh, China's not our threat. Russia's the big threat." Give me a break.
Yeah. Well, as I was discussing with Sackhead Sean before the show, Russia basically has the economy of California. So in terms of an economic or any kind of major threat such as that, except perhaps with regard to hacking, Russia is a has-been these days. China is the major threat. They've been planning this for years. After 1990, 1989, 1990, when the wall fell down, Putin did his very level best to gather his KGB buddies and try to, get the band back together again, the USSR. That wasn't happening. So a host of rich Russian oligarchs decided that they were going to run the country for a while until a stronger man came in, like Putin, and decided that he was going to attempt to put it back on the track, so to speak. But even he couldn't pull that off. China is the enemy. Period. End of statement.
And I feel bad. You look at us and you see COVID, and you see a lot of these things that they're doing to us, but I guaranteed within the first year of, if we have a Biden presidency, which that's kind of getting to me too with 2020. Some of the delusional ideas that Trump supporters have that we're not in big trouble right now, that somehow by a miracle Donald Trump is going to pull this off. It's the same delusions that the Q people were following. Somehow I kind of feel like I'm on the Yellowbird Road going to see the wizard, because everybody that used to have common sense around me doesn't anymore. Do you feel that also, and do you think that that is a byproduct of what's happened in 2020?
It is. 2020 is going to be known as its own dinosaur. It will end up consuming itself and consuming everyone around it as well. With regard to that, I was going to go into some of the lawsuits that were occurring later on today. You brought it up now, so I may as well address a portion of it now. There was one lawsuit regarding Pennsylvania that essentially it was ruled null and void. Now, the state of Texas has instigated a lawsuit against the 4 cheating states, so to speak, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and I'm missing one. I can't think of the fourth. That's probably the last lawsuit that's going to mean much of anything. And I don't know anything about the time period with regard to that. But if you're attempting to hang the Trump hat on a lawsuit magically coming out of nowhere, I don't think that's going to occur. Now, as Jeremy and I both believe, if that doesn't occur, we still have December 14th coming up when the electors are going to gather. Do I know what's going to happen on December 14th? I don't. Do I know what's going to happen January 20th? I don't. I can no longer, my thinking cap, my Machiavellian grasp of political situations like this, it's gone. Just pretty much predominantly gone. So the lawsuits. So I think we're going to have to shift gears into a Biden mindset. That said, though, do not fret, people. All is not lost. Because the Demorats, it's like the first rule of holes that the Demorats never have understood. And the first rule of holes is, when you're in a hole, stop digging. The Demorats don't know that, and they're at each other's throats. When your enemies are battling each other, the other thing to do is step back and watch. Now, this gives a perfect time for those people. Well, let me ask you, Jeremy Hansen, who I'm talking to on the phone right now. Jeremy, first tell people about your show.
Well, I've got a pro-American, I would call it apolitical, because I am fed up with the GOP just like I am the Democrats. I see things from a different spectrum, I guess. I see things from power of people, the way that it was intended to be, a fearful master in the Democrats and Republicans. Here's what I know. All of them are gutless wonders except for, and I'll give kudos to the Democrats, they will step in and they will just come out and take whatever they want, just right in the face of everybody, and then make up excuses and tell other people. But the GOP, including the Supreme Court, are so gutless. Like this Pennsylvania one that got struck down today. That was literally law versus governor mandate about the time period of ballots that came in. If the Supreme Court would have said, no, we have to go by law, Donald Trump would have won Pennsylvania. But they didn't, not because it wasn't lawful, not because there wasn't other court cases to go off of, but because they were completely spineless and weak. Now, if the American people would come together and see that and say, this corrupt system needs to go, we could have it done literally within 6 months. We could take back every institution that's ours to begin with, but the American people got to do something. And I'm not talking about putting a Trump flag on your truck and driving in a parade. I'm talking about getting involved in local politics, in school, in all of those things. But I don't know if Americans are up to that task.
I see, and again, I'd be curious what you think. I see a little bit of sun on the horizon, and by that I mean on multiple levels. We're finally starting to see some pushback with regard to Wuhan 19. People aren't taking this crap anymore. The other aspect is, after all the abuse you and I have taken, and all the other citizens of the United States have taken in terms of the half-truths, falsehoods, and outright lies that we have been told regarding Wuhan 19, I'm a little hesitant to take all the stats that are thrown at me as rote. I've just been disabused of that in such a manner. But I think I'm beginning to identify, and we're starting to see some pushback and people starting to get a spine. For about the past month, I don't know what's been happening. You're in Missouri. Even in California, always spelled with a K. Here, we're starting to see people rise up more and more with Trump rallies, with people getting together, and specifically with regard to Gabrielle Ingram from last week. I hope to have her maybe back on the show on Thursday. The citizen activist, journalist, I think some people on the right are starting to pick up that mantle and begin to wear it, certainly as fearlessly as she is. They're starting to wear it themselves. So if you see that beginning in the state of California, always spell it with a K, that means that there's a rumbling undertone, an undertow of water and intent and focus that I haven't seen before in a while. Are you seeing anything similar to that in Missouri, Jeremy Hansen?
We're seeing a lot of that, but we've always kind of been there. We have a group of people in Missouri that they really don't give a shit what anybody has to say. They're going to go live their life the way that their grandma and grandpa taught them to live it, and that's just the way that it is.
Good.
I think what you're saying, though, is very, very true, and what I see happening here is a move back to federalism. People are going to call me a conspiracy theorist for saying this, but I really don't give a shit. The truth is, what I see happening is we're really, really, really close to secession. There are a lot of states that are sick and tired of not being represented, and now we have a court case about equality under the law when it comes to the President of the United States and how he was voted in. Now you have Texas do that, and I think there's 7 or 8 states that have jumped on that bandwagon. North Dakota, South Dakota,
yep.
I believe South Carolina, Florida, Arkansas, and Louisiana, I believe. When you start seeing movements like that, and there is a case that might not even be taken up by the Supreme Court, they have allowed it to come in for people to give their depositions, but they haven't really said, well, we're really going to take time. What do they call that? An articulate.
I've heard that they have put it on the docket.
Right, they have put it on the docket, but what they put it on the docket for is basically an extended amount of time for the defendants, which would be Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, to basically put up their report to what that says. But they haven't put it up as far as them reviewing the case. So they literally next Tuesday could say, yeah, we're not getting in the middle of this. Now, if that happens, I know people here in Missouri, what's going to happen is they're going to care less what the federal government says. As a matter of fact, they drafted another law the other day that said Missourian Second Amendment rights can't be infringed no matter what the federal government says. You start putting in place things like that, you're going to see federalism, and you're going to watch these states talk about secession. And this isn't something new. If you remember, in January of 2020, we had the one county from West Virginia, from Virginia, wanting to join West Virginia. Do you remember that?
Barely.
Okay, when you have things like that happen, that means the people are getting fed up and they're tired of it. And to avoid a war, they're willing to do this. But you push them too far, and things will go up in flames. And I'm telling you, we've watched Antifa and we've watched the BLM, but they have seen nothing. They have seen not even a smidgen of what would happen if the silent majority finally was fed up enough and said, screw this. We're heading for trouble either way,
But you have to admit, though, even though I kind of am sort of maybe hoping that occurs, on the other hand, that would be one of the worst things to happen to the United States. It would then tend to plummet the United States of America into the divided states of America. Kurt Schlichter has been on this show 5 times. I'm going to get him back. He has a new book out. Essentially, the theory of his fiction series involving his protagonist Kelly Turnbull is that the United States have devolved into red and blue states. The blue states are sucking, and they're plummeting in flames. The red states are profiting. And then there were first civil wars between these two areas, and they agreed to disagree that certain states, certain areas would be red over here, these over here would be blue, and the United States is no more. When he wrote that, when he began that series 3 years ago, he said, I thought it was kind of amusing to talk about that. Now, we're almost living it right now in December of 2020.
It's that easy. You know, I read a story today. I don't know if you remember Deerfield, Illinois, but under Obama's reign, they made a law that said if you lived in that town, you couldn't have an assault rifle. It was just, you know, and in California, maybe you look at it a little different. But in Illinois, there's Chicago, Rockford, and Peoria. And other than those 3 towns, the rest of it is all redneck. And this little town of Deerfield came out and said, you cannot have an assault rifle. And if we find out that you do have one, we're going to fine you between $250 and $3,000 per day. They took it to court, and they won. And a judge put an injunction to stop the city from doing it. Today it comes out that they got that reversed because they know, or at least they think they know, that Biden's getting it.
Well,
we're going to watch things like that across the country.
That's exactly correct. What's done, it can be undone. And you can guarantee that all of these people, all the leftists are looking to, they'll be sweeping Joe Biden aside in no time. Give it time, it will occur. Just to watch him now in any kind of a press conference, it is just damn embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. And I'm going to be talking about this after the 9 o'clock hour. The whole theory of the show tonight is leftists destroy everything they touch, and they don't mind who pays the price in terms of your life. They don't care if you die. You're being used. You're a condom. You're a tool to be utilized and cast aside. And I'll be going into proof of that after the 9 o'clock hour. In January 20th, I know this is difficult to prognosticate, but I'll ask it anyway, because you and I are generally on the order of GMTA. On January 20th, have any thoughts, Jeremy Hansen, about what may occur on that date? Will we see a swearing in?
I think we're going to, and I love Donald Trump probably more than anybody in this country, just because I think anybody that does what we do see what he deals with. But I literally think that Americans dropped the ball. I think that we didn't do enough in the proper areas because we were living in this fantasy land that there was people out there that were doing things for us that was never happening. And during that time, the snakes showed their face and bit Donald Trump in the back. They sabotaged him. And in turn sabotaged us. So I literally think, not that I want, but I think that Joe Biden will be president.
Okay. All right. Though there is this, I would agree, but we're going to have to wrap our brains around the fact that We're not always, obviously, going to get what we want. We should have been used to that for many years over. My issue is why I'm done with bipartisanship and compromise is I'm in my 7th decade. So I'm in the I don't give a shit decade anymore. Anybody who wants to come and acquire anything from me that I own will possibly get a surprise. And I know I shouldn't be saying things like this on the air, but the time has come for Americans to finally say, you know, I think I really, really have had enough. Because just like your Mark I Model 1 bully, leftists will keep pushing until you decide that you're drawing the line and not allowing them to push back any further. So, Jeremy Hansen, I'm suggesting this. Folks, if you think that Trump is going away, he's not. Folks, if you think that the people that have supported pretty much consistently President Trump are going away, they're not. There are a number of people, I believe in the Republican Party, who are counting on prior Trump supporters to roll over to their laissez-faire way of thinking. That shit isn't going to sail either. Donald Trump is going to be around. I believe he's going to be continuing to light fires publicly, privately. He's going to take Demorats to task, and he's also going to take Republicans to task. Plus, it's the year 2020 is almost over. 2021, if you think it's going to be infinitely brighter and more stellar, you might want to rethink that. But 2022, however, people will only tolerate so much within the law. There is malum prohibitum and malum in se. That is to say, people know inherently what is good and what is bad. There are things that are stipulated that are bad just because people say so. But there are things that are bad that inherently everyone intuitively knows those are bad. In 2022, keep the bad up. And you're going to see the House set on fire. And you're also going to see the Senate set on fire. So we will have that control. The Demorats may still have the presidency. And then 2024 will roll around. But also be aware that come 2024, because I think she will be of age, you'll be able to see by 2023 whether AOC gets the push or the nod by that time, or whether the Demorats and everybody else have simply tired of her shit. That remains to be seen. But Jeremy Hansen, do you believe that all is lost? I do not, by any measure whatsoever.
Absolutely not. We can take everything back. And you know what? I've thought about this more and more, and it may be a blessing in disguise because finally, everybody in America, even the Democrats, know that Biden didn't get 80 million votes.
No.
They know that. They know that, you know what, this time it might work out in their favor. Next time it might not. And I'm hoping, my God, I'm hoping that the American people finally start getting involved. And Donald Trump has said this so many times, they take their country back with their own two hands.
Yep. That has to occur. That has to occur. You know, we've some of the people that I know of that are the greatest lovers of this country are those who have entered the country lawfully, have taken the oath, and love the United States of America like few others. Lily Tang Williams, who I've had on the show twice now for 2 hours, was raised in communist China, knows what it feels, knows what it smells like, and tells us that what her story is a cautionary tale to take to heart that she sees happening all over again, except now it's in the United States of America. But she loves this country like no other. ran as a libertarian in Colorado, for that matter, for the Senate. In any event, that's Jeremy Hansen. You going to be on the air tomorrow, sir?
Say that again?
Are you going to be on the air tomorrow, sir?
I am. I appreciate you guys being there. BC, you always put on an awesome show. And folks, do me a favor, do BC a favor, read your Declaration of Independence, because I think pretty soon it's going to be pretty important.
There's a part of the oath that I took as a law enforcement officer that mentions all enemies, foreign and domestic. Today, in 2020, we are dealing with both. Obviously, China, etc. We are dealing with foreign enemies. Today, I'm suggesting to everyone, the Demorat Party, they are the enemy. Jeremy Hansen, thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break, folks. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
It is he that is me, bringing perspective from across the sea. Join me, Jack Alexander, 4 days a week for the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast, as I take a unique outsider's look at the news and issues affecting life and liberty here in the USA. I'll show you what the mainstream media refuses to. Politics, border security, defense, healthcare, travel, nothing is off limits. Catch the Jack Alexander Experiment podcast each Monday to Thursday on Facebook, YouTube, and everywhere good podcasts can be found. Also, check out the website, www.jackalexanderexperiment.com.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
After 6 years covering terror and corruption, the Unpleasant Blind Guy is making a change. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker and YouTube through SHR Media and on the Western Free Radio Network as I team up with Jeff Mitchell, host of the English Defense League radio show on blogtalkradio.com. Check show pages for airtimes. It's the Unpleasant Blind Guy.
On EBL Radio.
There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. I'm back. He's back. He's back. She's back. We are back. They are back. Shells have back. How about that? Good. Sackhead Sean is in the studio.
Hi.
It's Sackhead Sean. Let's see. Can I turn this up? See, I didn't prepare for this. So
I know. I did that on purpose.
I think it's going to say something incorrect.
Never.
When I put on two cameras.
Never.
Yeah, it says election 2020.
Close enough.
So the election 2020 has already occurred.
We're kind of talking about it, right?
Yeah, we are kind of talking about it. I was going to go off on a... You said you wanted to come in if we talk about China. I'm going to get to China in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I also want to make sure that I get into the reason that I wanted to have the show tonight. This is something that I think we need to hear, folks.
Frankly, Senator Sanders, Senator Warren, and myself are all on the same team. What are you willing to sacrifice to make sure that overfunded police departments are defunded?
There is no middle road on the climate crisis.
I not only support a Green New Deal, I don't think it goes far enough. I'm all for a Green New Deal. This is part of what gun registration is about. We want to track where the guns are. We need to cut the defense budget.
Popeyes or Chick-fil-A?
Oh, Popeye.
Are you in favor of expanding the court or perhaps an age limit in place instead of a lifetime appointment?
Look, I've said everything is on the table.
But if we win the majority, everything is on the table.
It's always on the table.
We take Georgia, then we change America.
We take Georgia and we change America.
Comprised of those who are documented and undocumented.
We win these races in Georgia so that we don't have to negotiate.
That's their goal. Total radical control to bring horrific change to America. Only Georgians can stop them.
Nobody can serve God and the military.
Raphael Warnock attacks our military.
Raphael Warnock is a racist.
Gangster and thug mentality.
Warnock attacks our police.
Somebody's got to open up the jails.
Raphael Warnock is dangerous.
A dangerous racist.
This.
Not God bless America, God America.
Now my hope is that in early January, Democrats will pick up 2 more seats in the Georgia runoffs, and that will make our life a lot easier.
And they don't care what.
We need to send a message this year. We need to send a message that if you indulge this kind of politics, you're not just going to get beaten. You're going to get beaten so bad you can never run or show your face again in public. Because we have had enough.
Bipartisanship and compromise.
Of what we are getting from
Fuck
Donald
it.
Trump and his fellow travelers right now. You're not just going to get beaten. You're going to get beaten so bad you can never run or show your face again in public.
Lovely.
That was Ossoff talking on that. Folks, get pissed off because these fuck nozzles they've got you in their sights. The whole point of being here tonight was to tell you that, and I won't apologize for this. Demorats are the enemy. They're no longer, hell, they've never been interested in bipartisanship and compromise. I'm not interested in bipartisanship and compromise. And they came out today and yesterday and a month ago and said to the American public, fuck you. We're going to take a white-hot piece of rebar, shove it up your ass, drain your pockets, make you write checks from now until forever, and you'll never have the opportunity to vote anything except Demorat. Here's a story. Pelosi on the reason for the shift to supporting smaller coronavirus relief. Okay, now if you remember, about a month and a half ago, Trump was offering $1.9 trillion, which the Demorats turned down. That's because Pelosi said she literally said, we cannot give Trump anything resembling a win.
Yep.
So now, here's Pelosi back supporting a smaller, she's getting less than half, potentially less than half.
$900 billion.
Of what Trump was offering.
It's so ridiculous.
And the reason that she's amenable to this is because, well, there's a new president. She said she was willing to move ahead with a smaller coronavirus relief package with President Biden going to the White House.
Mm-hmm.
Process that.
And Dick
Durbin
Durbin kind of doubled down on it tonight.
Process that, what she just said. What she said is they don't mind how much pain they cause you. If you happen to die in the meantime, that's okay too.
Go fuck yourself.
If you're bankrupted,
yep.
If you lose your apartment,
yep.
If you lose your car,
yep.
If you lose your house,
yep.
If you lose your family.
It's all for the better of the Democrats.
If your folks, your friends, your family, or someone who knows you or you yourself commit suicide, fuck you.
Yeah, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Bipartisanship and compromise is out the door.
Yep.
So here's the story that I was looking at. This is from September 14th, 2020. Pelosi fears passing another virus relief bill would give Trump a win. This isn't from, Joe's House of Crappy News. This is from the WashingtonExaminer.com. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said Monday he worries another coronavirus package might not be enacted because Speaker Nancy Pelosi fears it would reflect positively on President Trump.
What?
And that's exactly what she said. But wait, there's more.
Isn't there always? BC?
Now we have confirmation. And again, for the rest of the hour, for the rest of this show, I got to warn you, is going to be a lot of F and S words because I've had it, at least for tonight. The Demorats don't mind telling you and then confirming how they're going to fuck you over. Do you remember Senator Harry Reid saying something similar to, well, I lied about Romney because I knew that the media would pick it up and run with it.
Yeah.
That's so funny. He told you that he lied, but at the time he was swearing that it was the truth. Here's a story from Fox News. Bernie Sanders concedes Demorats held up coronavirus relief. Mm-hmm. That's right, he said. Senator Bernie Sanders on yesterday, criticized Demorat leaders for getting behind a smaller $908 billion coronavirus relief package after rejecting a $1.9 trillion proposal from President Trump in October. Sanders' remarks seem to clash with Demorat narratives that Republicans are responsible for stalling coronavirus relief. Now, I've got a little tete-a-tete here between Bernie Sanders and Jake Tapper. Let's see if I can get this bad boy to play. Come on. Okay. All right. Apparently, it's not going to play. In any event, Bernie Sanders admits, well, yeah, okay, it's true. We held up the coronavirus relief.
Well, yeah, I mean, why not?
Why wouldn't we? Why shouldn't we?
Look, I mean, let's be honest. How are they going to get any sort of political gain and momentum if they actually did what the president wanted them to do to help people in need? That's foolish.
This is the president that in 4 years has done more than the Demorats and the Republicans have done.
You act like these people were elected to serve the people, BZ.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't.
No,
in their mind, they weren't.
Well,
that's the problem.
That's why everybody that's in the Senate and the House should be investigated.
Right
How
now.
the fuck did these people come in making a mid-six-figure salary and then, I don't know, in a year or two, like Ilhan Omar? If there's one thing you have to admit about Ilhan Omar, she's learned how to fuck the system and get involved in corruption early. And she picked up early on that.
Well, yeah.
Good for her.
Her husband just racked in, and I don't know if it's her brother husband or her husband or her political husband.
Yeah.
I don't remember which one it was, whichever one has some organization that she's currently publicly married to, picked up almost $600K and COVID relief money from the government.
I was listening to people on Fox News today say, well, even though technically that might not be illegal.
Right. It's still shit. But look.
What?
You look at other Democrats that have done this, right? Google Solyndra. Who owns Solyndra?
Oh, God.
Pelosi's husband.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a status quo. The problem I have in this fucking country right now is that these people keep electing them. It's mind-boggling, but it shows you the mentality of Democrats in this country by and large. Not all.
That's how I got kicked off Facebook. Twice.
But by and large, it shows you the mentality of, well, we just want our person in and we don't give a fuck who that person is as long as it's our person.
And then I deduced, it wasn't terrible to deduce, but I said, on Facebook, really, when you think about it, Americans are fucking stupid. Suspended for 30 days.
I'll tell you right now, it's not 80 million because I don't believe those numbers, but there's a large percentage of people in this country. Look at what's going on in Portland, Seattle, Antifa, right? The crime in Chicago. These people will keep voting for the same idiocracy, and then they wonder,
well, what happened?
But here's the thing. There used to be outrage when somebody like what Bernie said today, or Nancy holding it up. There used to be outrage. Now they have conditioned Democrats to say, well, it's for the better of the people. Yeah. As long as it's for the better of the people, well, getting rid of Trump is for the better of the people. Yeah. So it's okay if everybody starves.
It's for the children.
Look, who was it? one of Biden's appointees who essentially said, well, the rest of the world should get the COVID vaccine before America. I don't care if you want to take it or not. That's not the point. That mentality of you're an American, you've had it too fucking good for too long.
And you're a third-class citizen now. You're not even second class.
Well, wait a minute. You've had it too good for too long.
Oh, hell yeah.
You've lived way too high on this hog. You should suffer while these other poor countries get ahead. That's the mentality of the Democrats right now. This is what we're trying to combat with ideas of liberty and freedom that they refuse to take part in because they believe big government will save them.
But stop. But wait.
There's more.
Here's a story from Breitbart. GOP Demorats allow Mike Lee's outsourcing bill to pass the Senate. What? Did you hear about this, folks? Probably didn't. Every Republican and Democrat senator has let Senator Mike Lee, Republican, Utah, pass a bill through the Senate that would supercharge the outsourcing of the white-collar jobs needed by Americans' professional class and college-educated children. Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, promising to curb immigration and the huge H-1B program, said Kevin Lynn, founder of U.S. Tech Workers, a group that opposes the visa worker programs. So now you have Republicans who are advocating and creating bills where America is no longer first. They're jumping through the hoops to the tune of the big corporations not far from you and I over in Silicon Valley and Santa Clara who want cheaper labor to do an American job so that they can fire Americans from said job, hire a technically competent individual or roughly
from overseas and pay them way less.
Overseas and pay them less.
And guess
possibly,
where that money's going to go?
And
back overseas.
Sure it will, and possibly pay them little if any benefits.
Well, look, I don't know what the fuck happened to Mike Lee. I don't know.
But that's the point. The Republicans frequently are just as corrupt as the Demorats. This is another continuing series of illustrations about exactly that. Now, here's a story. This is where you want to go. Now we're going to transition over into this.
China.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This came out, this story was broken by Axios.
Yes.
Which is not, folks, by any stretch of the imagination,
conservative,
a moderate to right-leaning organ.
That's why you could have fucking knocked me over with the feather when I saw the source on this.
So let's go through this. The headline, exclusive, suspected Chinese spy targeted California politicians. What? Okay. Well, it's going to get good. A suspected Chinese intelligence operative developed extensive ties with local and national politicians. They're going to name names. Including a U.S. Congressman, Swalwell, in what U.S. officials believe was a political intelligence operation run by China's main civilian spy agency between 2011 and 2015, Axios found in a year-long investigation. So, you know what? Good for them.
Pause. I love the idea that it was an intelligence infiltration, they believe. Look, the Chinese spy network is not hanging out with Swalwell because they want to see if he can fucking golf, right? So let's just can that shit. Like, I get when you're a reporter, you have to write stuff like that to give yourself wiggle room, and it keeps you from being sued, right? But at the end of the day, they weren't cozying up with Swalwell because they loved his haircut or they thought he was a super cool dude. No, they look. Have you ever seen lions watching gazelles? Which one do they pick?
Not gazelles. They're pretty fast.
But which one do they pick?
Oh, well, let's see. I have two options. That
do
I'd
they
like
go
to throw
for
on
the
table.
strongest, fastest, biggest?
They go either for the baby or they go for the one that's just about ready to die and can't keep up with the rest of the herd.
The weak. They go after the weak.
They do.
And weakness can be overconfidence. Weakness can be outright weakness, and weakness can be mentally weak.
Stupidity.
So you look at Swalwell. What do we know about Swalwell? Well, he's an idiot.
Let's see, if I'm not mistaken, he's the guy that wanted to drop a nuclear bomb on the people from the right. Now, we have nuclear weapons you don't.
This was after the whole Chinese thing, as we'll find out, that ended in 2015, right? This is the guy who, after the FBI had to come to him and say, by the way, Eric, that really hot Asian chick who's been hanging out with you for the last 4 years, she don't like your noodle.
Yeah, she ain't banging you for your brain, dude.
She's from China, okay? And I don't know how to put this to you, but that intern you hired for her, well, she's been spying. By the way, Christina Fang is her Chinese name, fled the country. Because she was a Chinese spy operative. Yeah. Weird, right? You would think, like, with their loving, lasting relationship, she would hold out to be with her man. That didn't motherfucking happen. So, you have them picking out this, but they have a history of this. Look at Feinstein, the driver, 20 years. 20 fucking years. By the way, did you know that the FBI recently did some sort of, like, almost like a counterintelligence against foreign nationals unit that they started like 10 years ago? I'm like, really? 10 years ago? Like, I know you guys are a little fucking slow, but come on.
Well, there's a couple of points about that I was going to bring out in another article, but since you brought it up now, the Chinese dude whose name I can't remember, and it's immaterial, was in her
His name's
employ.
immaterial?
Yeah, his name is immaterial.
Interesting.
And I probably wouldn't be
doesn't
able to
sound
pronounce
like Chinese.
it anyway.
That doesn't sound Chinese.
I know. Well, it was either Jing immaterial or he came from the House of Immaterial. I'm not
American
quite sure
name is
which,
immaterial.
Yeah.
Got it.
But he was her driver.
Yes.
Then became her confidant.
Yes.
Then became her personal assistant.
Absolutely.
And let's see if we go back and can remember about what Dianne Feinstein was doing at the time. Oh, that's right.
Intelligence.
She was the chair of the Intelligence Committee.
That was also around the time that the Chinese man who allegedly heard voices in his head tried to light the Chinese consulate on fire
That's
in San Francisco. Strange. It's just, it happens.
I think it's all quinkydink.
It's all coincidence. And here's the other interesting thing about that whole Dianne Feinstein thing. I have heard, not confirmed, that she was warned early on too. And what did she do? No, he's all right. That's Joe. I know Joe.
Well, the other thing is,
Joe would never do that to me.
The biggest question is, I made this comparison about a year ago.
I didn't mean Biden,
when I first brought the story up. And that is this. Okay, why does Dianne Feinstein get a warning by the FBI that there might be trouble in paradise and it's in her office? Whereas in 2015 and 2016... the FBI suspected there might be trouble in Trump paradise, but instead of giving him a heads up and saying, can we talk to you for a second in this closet over here?
We just want to have cleared up.
Yeah, we want to talk to you and let you know that you might have, have a spy in the woodshed, and we're here to help. Nope. But instead, we got 4 years.
FISA warrants,
of an
Steele dossier,
a piss dossier.
All that shit.
Yeah.
So, and let's look at why that came about. How much pushing do you think, and I know like Russia, Steele dossier, Britain, but the other thing you have to think about is who in Britain is bought by the Chinese? Hong Kong. Why did they let that go a long time ago? They had no reason to. Oh, we want to give it back to its people. Well, you're condemning them to communist death, essentially, which we're starting to see now.
Yes, imagine that.
And everybody was screaming about that back then, and the Brits were like, no, it's just our time. And it's like, wait a minute, you're taking the shield down from... the vast majority of Hong Kong residents wanted to stay under British rule. Thriving, free, plenty of money, no Chinese overlord, communism, hell.
Great suits.
Right.
Fake watches.
So what did the Chinese have on the British to force that for no reason? Now you start looking at the Steele dossier. Intel from who? Britain, a British intelligence agency. That's where the Steele dossier showed up. You start looking at how often China has shown up recently. There's now talks, and I haven't seen anything to confirm it, that Dominion voting, the vast majority, is owned by the Chinese company. China's been buying up land in America. This is confirmed and reported.
Very true.
Repeatedly, thousands of acres at a time.
All you had to do is look at any major Hollywood movie in the past 3 years and look at the production name, the names of the production companies. China is big time in Hollywood, purchasing as much as, because all these people are hoovering up cash. They're desperate for cash, and China is desperate to insinuate itself in any way for the downfall of America.
And if you keep looking and looking how often China just pops up, right, in just random places. And you have to ask yourself why. And I brought this up to you earlier. They picked up the ball where the USSR dropped it. The USSR was trying the same thing. They didn't have the same technology. They didn't have the same infiltration ability. But when the Obama administration really normalized,
there you go,
such relations with communist China, the people who Uyghurs are locked in concentration camp for their religious belief.
Listen, they make great shoes, though, for Nike. Come on.
Nike paying 9 cents a day to have fucking shoes made.
And your Apple phone? Hey, little leftist, your little Apple phone is manufactured by slaves.
COVID, right? All of a sudden, this is the country where their COVID was spiking, and then all of a sudden, no deaths. On Tuesday. Monday, 3,500 a day. Tuesday, no deaths. This is communist China. Why were there no deaths? Because when those people were dying, they were just throwing them in a pit and lighting them on fire. They didn't give a fuck.
You know, did you not see when that first started happening? Did you not see some of those videos that I wish that I'd captured of Chinese moving through Chinese neighborhoods, soldiers tossing bodies in a pile, and a lot of people in the media were going, "Oh, that's not real. That's not really happening."
Well, there was also the picture of the urns getting brought into different cities, thousands of urns on the back of a truck. Why do you have urns? Dead people.
Yeah.
Right? And the billions of people that are in China, do we know if they lose 50, 60, 100, 200, 300,000? No. They lie to us about everything.
No.
How many times have they adjusted their dollar? I don't know what it's called. The Chinese dollar.
Yeah. The yen?
Yeah, the yen. No, that's Japanese.
No, it isn't.
It's Chinese?
Yes.
Well, smack my ass and call me sexy.
There you go. You are sexy.
But how many times have they inflated, deflated, adjusted just for no reason whatsoever? You look at Hunter Biden, those deals that were going on. China keeps popping up so much that I think this has been a long-term game with China since the drop of the USSR.
You have to say that China, unlike Russia, a little bit like Russia and maybe in the 70s, 60s, 70s, right around in there, a little bit in the 80s. China, like Islam, plays long ball.
Oh, huge long ball. And now we have such an immigration openness with them that there are Chinese immigrants everywhere in this country. Well, how many of them have paid? Look, if they can get to Eric Swalwell, Dianne Feinstein, who can't they get to?
Well,
Vice President Biden.
The other
his
thing that
kid.
The first thing that any thinking, there we go, individual should be saying also is,
that whole thing's gone now.
How many of these shit sticks in D.C., in the House, in the Senate are on the take?
Well, look, I'm going to tell you. Well, they are through all different. Look, half the country.
EPA. We're just talking about China. That doesn't even take into account.
I'll tell you right now.
Twitter.
Who do you think's behind this big green movement?
Zuckerberg.
It's China. You know why? Because it limits the amount of production we can do in this country where they don't play by any rules.
And they will never sign off on that.
No, they don't give a fuck.
No.
So who do you think all that money for green energy was behind? Oh, by the way, most of the green energy products, guess where they're made? China. So they were winning on both ends of the stick.
Yeah, like all the masks that
Gavin
Newsom bought here in the state of California. Always spell it with a K.
Is
for $1 billion.
This is the green movement. Solyndra, all that shit under Obama. The Green New Deal. All of this was started, perpetuated, and paid for by by China through various countries.
Because what you're saying
Why?
is it throttles Western civilization
through the ground
and leaves them untouched.
And if you look at when the big green thing started, and especially I bring up Solyndra time and again, you bring up the time of Solyndra under the Obama administration, right? The big push that was thrown out under Clinton and Obama for Green New Deal stuff, green energy stuff. But under Obama, you remember, if you bought a green car, they were giving you thousands of dollars. If you were putting solar on your roof, thousands of dollars.
Sure.
The amount of money that was being pumped into the quote-unquote green option, well, why? It's not because of the environment. Why? We all called it then. Well, somebody's getting rich off it, right? I can remember sitting in this studio talking about it. Somebody's going to get rich off it. That's all this is about. Yeah, fucking China. And I didn't think China at the time. I thought it was Pelosi's husband who got millions of dollars for Solyndra and ran it into the fucking ground.
Well, he did anyway. Richard Blum became a multi-millionaire.
No, he did. The company went to the ground. He got played fine.
Sure, he was.
This is why he has the deal with the California
politicians
fast
don't
rail.
have to pay any penalties.
But you look at where China has their tendrils into and how far back. And you say, no, green energy makes perfectly good sense because we were ready to sell all industry over to China. We would lower our carbon footprint, which, by the way, all of you fucking environmentalists, just because it's being made in China doesn't mean that it stops producing fucking greenhouse gases or whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Right, and the Chinese putting melamine in your cat food and your dog food, give it to your cats and your dogs.
It's not a big deal, right? But you look at, that's where China has their tendrils in. You look more and more at how many accusations of Chinese meddling. I got an interesting.
Hold that thought. I'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Southern Sense is conservative talk with Annie, the radio chick you bellows as host, and C.S. Bennett co-host. Informative, fun, irreverent, and politically incorrect. You never know where they'll go, but you'll love the journey. Annie is a top conservative host on Top Talk Radio and features some of the finest guests packed with important politicians and newsmakers. Listen every Friday, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, noon to 3 Pacific, on the SHR Media Network. Remember, Southern Sense is common sense.
Hey, are you guys listening? This is Shannon from Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM on SHR Media. I know you've been wondering where we are and what's been going on. Well, folks, that's right. We're back. So please join us 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday on SHR Media, on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, and Facebook Live at 11 a.m. on Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM at Facebook. You don't want to miss a minute. We've got lots of guests, lots of segments, and lots of interesting things. And let's face it, there's nowhere for you to go, so you might as well tune in. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We're back live on the air on SHR Media, 7 to 9 a.m. Monday through Thursday, audio and Facebook Live, audio and video. Yes, we are going to do video. Facebook Live, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. Hope to see you soon.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. We're back. This is the final, what do we call this?
30.
I used to call this the final 25, but because the promos are shorter, I guess I could call this the final 27. So these are the final 27 minutes of the show. And we had, on the first hour, we had Jeremy Hansen who called in. And in the second hour, starting at 9 o'clock, which was midnight on the East Coast, we had Sackhead Sean come in. And we're talking about China. You were just about to make an important point, a gravely important point, an incredibly important point. What was it?
It's really simple. If you go to any website, if you go to Wikipedia, and they usually have a pretty good list of stuff like this, but you go down the list of people who are accused or convicted of Chinese espionage, American citizens, some of them non-American citizens, Chinese nationals, sometimes Chinese nationals that became American citizens. There's been a few cases of American citizens who fled back to China and became Chinese nationals. But if you start looking at all of the different cases, it's astronomical. There are absolutely dozens upon dozens of cases of Chinese espionage where allegations have been made and or convicted. Now, why are they not convicted? Because we don't usually charge them in absentia. Usually if they flee the country, then the charge is just penned until they come back. So they're not going to get a conviction that way. You look at where they were.
And they ain't coming back.
How many of them were professors at colleges is astronomical. How many of them worked in government facilities? Astronomical.
Tons.
This past year alone, there was like 10 arrests, maybe even more, 15. You had, in Massachusetts, you had the 2 Chinese nationals who failed to declare that they were a part of the Chinese military. And they were working in a biochem lab with an American professor who may not have been getting $50,000 a month from the Chinese government.
What? He was taking bribes? No.
They were arrested.
Jeez.
You had the case of the UC Davis professor who was actually an active member of the Chinese Secret Service, or the Chinese CIA, so to speak. The Bay Area has been an absolute hotbed of it.
I told you this story in 2012, 2013, right around there. I went to a UFO convention in Santa Clara at the Santa Clara Convention Center. Well, in there was also a big consortium about tech. Well, Santa Clara, folks, if you don't know, is essentially Silicon Valley. And if you want to find all the big names, you drive down the street, which is just adjacent to the Santa Clara Convention Center, and you see Google, you see Facebook, you see...
all of them are right there.
All of those people are right there. So as I walk in during breaks from looking at UFO stuff, and because that's what I do, that convention of technology, it was like Technology 2012 or whatever the hell it was. Probably 90% of the people in there were Chinese. Now, I wonder, Sackhead Sean, were there any spies in there or anybody working for China?
Yeah,
I
they're
don't
probably all
think
employed
so.
by the big tech companies.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you don't think that they don't have power in big tech, you're wrong. They said,
of course they do.
TikTok alone is a big one to tell you about. But, you know, we got...
that brings up an excellent point. TikTok, Huawei, if you guys are embroiled or involved in any of this stuff, or we pick up Huawei... all they do is exist for siphoning information about you to mainland China.
Yep.
Period. End of statement.
So the UK Times called the website's thetimes.co.uk if you want to read it. And we also had Director of National Intelligence just talking about China, a week ago?
China, yeah. Oh, I've got a story right here.
But this one out of the Times, and because... folks, if you don't know, sometimes you have to go overseas to get the better American news if you haven't figured that out yet.
I go to the UK frequently.
This is out of the Times in the UK. More than 1,000 Chinese spies have fled the United States following an investigation into industrial and technological espionage, U.S. officials have claimed. The Chinese citizens have been poising as researchers while concealing their links to China's Liberation Army, said John Demers, chief of the U.S. Justice Department's National Security Division. There's no question, he says, that they are part of a Chinese government effort to send these individuals here. He said in an online discussion hosted by the Washington-based Aspen Institute.
It was the Institute.
I am drinking this
and
evening,
you could
by the
be
way.
tooted.
So, you start looking at that, and then, like I said, that's just what we know. You had the New York City police officer, United States Marine, Afghan vet, New York PD cop, Chinese spy.
Yep, exactly. Jack, what do you think about that?
Hawaii, same thing. They had a guy.
Yep, exactly. Jack?
Yes, hello.
Hello. How are you, Jack? It's Jack from Down Under. Oh, wait. Sean hasn't heard this. Let's see. I welcome Jack. I created this just for Jack.
It's a magical step into the future. Tomorrow's news today with Australia's Jack Alexander. Here in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
That's excellent.
Now, Who gets an intro like that?
I don't.
Jack. I didn't even make one of those for Sean.
And I own the fucking place.
And he owns the damn place. Good God, mister.
Dear God.
But I still expect, Jack, you to have tomorrow's news today. What are the winning lottery numbers? Go.
Yeah, if only that worked.
Yeah.
And the reason why I've got that is because I'm larger than life and twice as ugly.
Yep.
You said it. I mean,
I didn't say it.
I mean, if 2020 has a face, it's my face.
Well, let's see. What happened in 2020? I threw away $175,000. That was pretty good.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I really enjoyed that aspect of it.
I had a friend who said that if 2020 had a face, it would look like a smash bag of assholes. Sorry for the visual.
Or a blivet.
Or a blivet.
Do you know what a blivet is, folks? Blivet is 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
Yes. Anywho, Jack. Sorry, we ranted.
Yeah. And then there's Jack Alexander. Oh, and I got a person backed into my car on Saturday.
Just because why not?
Yeah. Hashtag because why not? Jack, how's your life? Will it be like hashtag fuck Jack's life?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when it comes to China, now that it looks like Biden might get sworn in, all of a sudden China has found their testicles and the Australian government has lost theirs. All of the gains that the Australian government made in trade and getting a fairer deal for Australian workers during the 4 years of Donald Trump, within the few weeks that we've had that, even though he isn't officially yet the president-elect and won't be for another 3 or 4 days, all of those 4 years worth of gains have just been flushed down the shitter with China. They're
it's weird. It's like they have nothing to fear anymore.
Yeah, I can't imagine that.
Yeah. Within the last 4 years, there'd been some gains back in the mining industry because China had invested billions of dollars into the Australian mining industry to the point where they had enough power with the government to bring in workers.
Yeah.
They were sacking the Australian miners and built an international airport in the middle of butt-fuck nowhere, Western Australia.
Well,
and
Jack, they did that with an island.
Hey?
They did that with an island in the South China Sea.
Yeah. Hey.
Why wouldn't they do it in Australia?
Well, we'll build here. This is a great place for a military reservation.
Yeah, but they're bringing in the workers. They're not contributing to the local economies. When they fly in the workers, they also fly in all the rations that they need to feed those workers. They're not even supporting the local businesses. They're being paid
they're
Chinese
efficient.
wages.
I'll give them that.
They're living under Chinese law.
What?
Within Australia.
What?
No.
So wait a minute.
State police can't even go on there if a crime's committed.
So
wait.
What you're telling me
Did they
is,
declare that an embassy? What?
So what you're telling me is that the Chinese government has actually made a stronghold in Australia, declaring land that is no longer Australia's rule, that is under their rule.
Their sovereign control in Australia? Is that what you're saying, Jack?
Pretty much.
I thought we got fucked.
Yeah.
I mean...
thankfully this got 86 a few years ago. But there's a member of the, how can I put this politely, the Religion of Peace, who runs a bakery making Middle Eastern breads and so on. He's one of the biggest suppliers of Middle Eastern bakery products in the state of Victoria. He did a deal with China to build an encampment not far from where I am, about 20 miles as the crow flies. And he built this massive fortified encampment that he was going to build a resort on for the Chinese workers to come and holiday in Australia, essentially in a concentration camp in Australia with kangaroos. But
isn't that all of Australia?
Except for Ayers Rock. I don't think the kangaroos can climb to Ayers Rock.
Hey,
yet.
Jack, I don't know how to tell you, but he's just kind of keeping it real because when your country was founded, it was a giant concentration camp.
It was a massive penal colony, dude.
He's just getting back to roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really,
thankfully, the local government turned around and said, "Well, no, you can't do that."
But Jack, actually, I want to make
shit ton of money.
I want to make a legit point. So, like you said, the baker is a Muslim dude working with China. Meanwhile, if the baker was in fact in China, he would be in a concentration camp right now.
Yes, he would.
So when we start talking about who the Chinese will deal with and what gain and benefit, and they don't give a shit, that's my point right there. They're literally, and we talked about this earlier. I don't care how you feel about the Muslim religion, agree, disagree, whatever. It's non-relevant in this country. People have that right to practice that religion. In China, they get sent to concentration camps and murdered. So all the leftists and liberals in this world who just love the Chinese, oh, they're such good people.
They're wonderful people.
NBA stars and all the other shit. Yeah. Oh, they're blah, 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 blah. That is what they do when you, and in this case, it's the Uyghurs. That's what they're called. But that's just that case. They do it to whatever group they deem necessary to do it to.
Well, and I still...
the Chinese do it to the Uyghurs. They do it to the Uyghurs. They do it to the Falun Gong. They do it to the Buddhists. They do it to the Christians.
Tibet.
Basically, the only religion that is allowed in China is worshipping the Communist Party.
The government.
It is the only thing that you're allowed to worship.
But that's right out of Marxism. Marxism is government replaces God.
Government is God. Yeah, 100%. And Jack, being a student of history as you are and a student of history as we are, you look at one of the things that China has done amazingly as far as self-development. They looked at everything the USSR did wrong. Everything. The biggest thing was the abundant control of businesses within the USSR, right? Everything was government controlled and it was all shit. Why? Because bureaucrats don't know how to run shit. China said, nope, we're going to adopt commie capitalism, where we're going to tax the shit out of you. We're going to own a bunch of it, but you're going to run the company.
Hong Kong capital expansion zone. Yep. They weren't stupid enough to stop capitalism in Hong Kong. They let that go.
And all through China, right?
And then picked that up. And
China has run away with the idea of quote unquote free market, if you will. Everything's owned by the government, but unlike what happened in Russia, where only 3 bureaucrats are super rich and everyone else sucked for that one business, they get like 50. 50 millionaires for this one business while everyone else sucks. But what did they do? They have inserted their economy into every other economy in the country. I'm sorry, in the world. And made it, up until recently in our country, so they were so vital that we had to keep borrowing money and we would never shit can them. And then, when did all this culminate? All of this started with China when Trump forced that new trade agreement and their profit loss margin was about to go through the fucking floor. And then all of a sudden COVID happened. The spies are acting up. And now we're seeing more and more how involved the espionage was. And I think I said today that the Eric Swalwell story is going to be the tide going out for the tsunami of information. That's the first big one going out. And I think there's going to be a lot more coming back. And I'm sure you guys, seeing how we have so much in common, have, like you said, have been doing better the last couple of years as far as your agreements with China. And now, as soon as Joe Biden gets allegedly elected, everything changed, right?
We're going to go back to where we were before, where China owns everything.
Yep. And there's going to be no break.
And this is where Trump's trade embargoes was such a brilliant masterstroke against China.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the small appliances that China makes and sells to the world, most of the stuff that's not sold to the US, Canada, or Mexico, they have to put a more expensive Any of those appliances that go to the United States, Canada, or Mexico can only go to those countries because you use this messed up 110-volt 60-cycle bullshit.
It's true, though.
While you might be the biggest consumer of all of those products on the planet, because of that technical
difference,
misstep on behalf of
misstep. He
China,
calls it a misstep.
Donald Trump had China over a barrel because there was no. If Australia puts an embargo or a tariff on any of that,
it don't matter.
We'll just send it. We'll just dump it in New Zealand at a discount price.
Just like he did to NATO. The exact same thing he did to NATO. For the first time ever, he made the members of NATO pony up and embarrassed the shit out of them at the same time.
Hold on. I just want to discuss Jack's jealousy with our 110 system.
I know. What is up with that?
My favorite part of that is he admitted that because we're the largest consumer, that, obviously China has to make it. Yeah. But even though we're the largest consumer, we're wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't mean doesn't mean we're right.
Oh, look, there is so much when it comes to technology that I could hang shit on the United States for. The 60-cycle 110 power.
I love that.
And also, let's get into television and that. Those countries are the only ones stupid enough to take on NTSC as a television broadcasting standard. Everyone else wears the power.
Yes, because you have such free television in Australia. Hey, by the way, have they arrested?
That's because we keep importing, all that reality TV shit that you make in the United States.
Anybody
they're not making episodic TV anymore, that's for sure.
Hey, Jack, how many people have been arrested this week in Australia for speaking out against the government on YouTube?
We'll wait.
That has actually abated a little bit. We can actually move around relatively freely at the moment.
Wait a minute. Okay, so what happened?
We can go outside now without a mask on.
Well, you can, but you're not allowed to go within 1,000 yards of a school, and I don't know if that has anything to do with the mask or not. I just read that about you.
Wait. Is that true?
No, it's not at all true.
Listen, I would believe it. Listen. For 2020, if you were told that, considering everything that's occurred in the past,
I'm sorry, Jack.
Would you not believe it? Jack, you tell me that's wrong. Go ahead, go.
Actually, yeah, considering this year, I wouldn't be surprised.
Jack, I'm sorry, buddy.
Second Sean is cracking himself up. He is cracking himself up. Okay, tell Jack what you're drinking. Go ahead.
I meant simple Manhattan.
Show Jack what you're drinking.
Well, I can't.
Oh, it's gone.
It's gone.
Well, there's ice cubes in a glass.
I've only got your audio up on Spreaker because I couldn't. When you started the show, I couldn't find you on YouTube. I didn't see you on Facebook, so I just started up the Spreaker.
We're not communicating on YouTube very well.
We may have been gotten a shadow ban on YouTube. That may be what's going on upon further research. So
yeah,
really,
I'll probably wind up with a 30-day.
Yeah,
I'll probably wind up with getting shadow banned again on
because YouTube
and
kept telling us we're out of quota.
Probably a 30-day ban on. Yeah.
Well, Jack, and I'll tell you in BZ, you get this message that you're out of quota on YouTube. I've done a bunch of research, and essentially that says there's no rhyme or reason to why that says that usually people like that have to contact YouTube and have them lift the quote.
Get mommy's permission to broadcast again?
I discovered that this week. Ooh. So that's their way of banning you without banning you. You have no strikes against you, and they have to get you off the air, so they do this quota thing.
Yeah. Let's tell them they don't have any quota left.
Yeah. I'm like, you guys couldn't be more original?
Well, yeah, I'll probably be getting that this week because I'm putting the finishing touches on a special that links COVID with the Democrats as a terrorist strike to give the Democrats the tools they needed to steal the election.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Jack, you can say tools you needed. I will tell you time and again, and I don't care who says what.
Yeah.
The Democrats knew this was coming because it was released. And maybe not the Democrat voters, but there's at least 4 or 5 people in the Democrat Party who knew this virus was coming, and they knew how it was coming.
They discovered They backtracked it to December now, not January.
Well, and here's the thing, too. Yeah. You remember, just so you go through your history, there's a reason they were calling Trump a xenophobe when he tried to put the clamp down on travel from China right away. They were calling him a xenophobe, but now they were like, well, if he shut it down earlier, why are you talking out of both sides of your mouth? Because they didn't want him to lock down as quick as he did. I'm convinced of this. Look, I understand I haven't seen intel and facts and stuff like that, but as somebody whose whole career is based off of deductive reasoning, and I've seen the actions of the Democrats over the last 4 years.
Training, education, and your experience.
Yes, leads to a massive deductive reasoning.
Bingo.
You look at what the Democrats had tried to do. They tried a coup before he got into office. Then they tried to have impeached on a false set of charges.
Layer and layer and layer and layer of bullshit.
Yeah.
None of it worked.
Why do you think they wouldn't steal an election from him? Tell me why any rational person would not think that that was an option for the Democrats, knowing his popularity going into the election.
Somebody in a meeting somewhere said, I know. Pandemic.
They said two things. We have the Dominion system when we need to use it, and pandemic. What better way to get everybody under control than to freak them out and not let them want to leave the house and then refuse to let them leave the house? And then you already had the information machine rolling with mainstream media. You can call me whatever the fuck you want to call me out there. I am using deductive reasoning based on probability. The probability results in the Democrats would do whatever the fuck they could to keep this election from going to Donald Trump at the risk of exposing all of their dirty laundry.
Okay, you guys, I'm going to get knocked off for this, but I'm going to play it anyway. You guys want to hear some Simpsons? Sure you do.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to call to order this secret conclave of America's media empires. We're here to come up with the next phony baloney crisis to put Americans back where they belong, in dark rooms glued to their televisions, too terrified to skip the commercials.
Well, I think...
NBC, you are here to listen and not speak.
Great line.
I think we should go with a good old-fashioned public health scare.
A new disease. No one's immune. It's like the summer of the shark, except instead of a shark, it's an epidemic. And instead of summer, it's all the time.
That is so... Now, I hate to be the guy who derails what everybody else loves.
He loves being that guy.
But, Janice, we do have standards. This can't be a made-up disease. The only moral thing to do is release a deadly virus into the general public.
We do have something we've been holding on to, but it hasn't been tested. Get over here, NBC.
Well, we certainly believe in testing, but
He falls to the floor, by the way.
Quivering. So we've got our deadly disease. Now we just have to blame it on something that's in every household, something that people are a little bit afraid of already. House cat flu is coming, people. Center for Disease Disinformation predicts with some degree of probability that the house cat flu might spread in the following hypothetical outbreak pattern. So petter beware, that warm body on your lap just might be ready to destroy your tender fiddles. Springfielders are advised to stay tuned for more information if they experience any of the following symptoms: mild thirst, occasional hunger, tiredness at night.
Tiredness at night is my favorite. So, but here's the thing about The Simpsons. The Simpsons have predicted a lot of things.
They've been prescient. They've been like the Nostradamus of cartoons.
It is really weird.
Years.
It is really weird the things The Simpsons have produced. But, and to point this out with this specifically, we've always seen that they've slowly built up our reaction to large diseases, H1N1, Ebola, blah, blah, blah. They've conditioned us to expect it, and they've conditioned us to respond, not us, but Americans in the world, really, to respond that only government has the answers in these matter of crises. Yeah. And that you will listen to whatever the government, and in this case, it wasn't the government because it really wasn't. So it was the experts. Well, that's subjective.
Yeah.
Because the expert is who you believe it to be. The term expert is a truth, not a fact. There's no defining way to say this person is a top scientist. That is just an accepted truth.
I'm a top scientist.
I am a top scientist. I am also the president-elect of the United States of America.
Hell yeah, me too. It says so on Twitter.
You will not sit here and talk to me like that.
Thank you.
Jack, you understand?
Jack, tell everybody where they can find your show, because we got to go. Go ahead, Jack. Go.
Look, it's the Jack Alexander Experiment. You can find it on, for the time being, on Facebook, YouTube, Parler, Magabook, LinkedIn, Periscope, Instagram, Twitter. The audio is available wherever good podcasts can be found. Failing that, head over to www.jackalexanderexperiment.com.
Okay, but because he's in Australia, it's www.australia.jackalexanderexperiment.www.
I thought it was MMM dot because it's upside down.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It's the
Thank you for stealing my joke, Sean.
It's and it's the Did you hear what he called you?
Hey, Jack. Because I don't know if I will speak to you before. Merry Christmas to you and yours, my friend.
You too, man.
Thanks for being there, buddy.
Yeah, it's the Coriolis effect.
Yes, it is. So
because
that's
did you know
mmm.jackalexander.com. That's where you want to go.
Or datcam?
Datcam.
Were you aware of the Coriolis effect? When toilets drain in the northern hemisphere, they drain to the right. In the southern hemisphere, they drain to the left. That's called the Coriolis effect.
That would have freaked me out so bad.
Wouldn't that be weird going to Australia and say, why is the toilet going the other
anywhere in the
direction?
southern hemisphere? And here's my biggest fear.
But I want to know why.
Long flight, and I'm hammered. Get off the plane, go to the airport, go unload some of the alcohol.
Okay.
Hit the flush button, think I stroked out.
Yeah. Say, what?
Because I won't think about that ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like, I'm going to Argentina, and now the toilet's going to flush the other way. Oh, no. No, I know me. It's going to be, I had 15 bourbons on the plane, and I'm going to die in Australia because the water's draining the other way.
Yeah, dude, was it the Peyote Butterfingers? Was it that?
Such a great movie.
Oh, fabuloso. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I'm BZ. That's Sackhead Sean over there.
Hello.
Thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show.
Yes.
Where I still am to a degree, broadcasting live and direct from behind enemy lines in occupied California. We spell it with a K.
Get down.
I'll be back Thursday night. Not quite sure who I'm going to have here yet. Angling to see if perhaps I can have Gabrielle Ingram back in to tell us what happened with the Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday, on today. I think it was at noon or 1 o'clock. Anyway, I'm hoping that I can have her back. In any event, thanks for being here. Thanks to Jeremy Hansen for being here in the first hour. Thanks to Sackhead Sean for being here. And thanks to you for listening. Folks calling in, listening in podcast. Also to the American truckers that listen. You keep America moving now more than ever. Folks, God bless. Take care. Be safe. Come back Thursday night. Same bat time, same bat channel. Love you.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.